So, thank you, Joe, and thank you for being willing to step, into public service. I mean, Joe's like me 7 years ago. When I started 7 years ago, I'd never run for anything. Student council, class president. This is Joe's first political campaign, and let me just say, is he not a natural? I'm going to take this coat off, although I want to show it off just before I take it off. This coat is made by a local company in Grand Junction called Loki. And if you put your thumb in a little thing here, if you get caught in some bad weather, you fold this in and out, and you got a mitten. That's an example of Colorado ingenuity. Of course, then I take this off, I also get a chance to show off my sister's a school teacher and a hell of a knitter. So I have had the greatest joy that I could ever imagine over the last 10.5 months campaigning for governor of this great state. We came through here, I think, 9 months ago, a little over 9 months ago. A lot of you were here. It was one of the warmest receptions I've ever got, and made such a difference in terms of encouraging me and kind of lifting me up. And as we've gone around the state, we've heard, we sat at people's kitchen tables and heard their joys and sorrows. We've heard the frustration and the anxiety. People have lost their jobs. They're not sure they're coming back. The bottom line is we are in a tough time, and Joe talked about this. This is what Senator Schwartz has spent the last 4 years really working on, is how do we begin to get, to build an economic infrastructure that is diverse and strong, so that when these recessions hit, they don't hit us so badly. How do we together help work our way out of this? I remember back, and I came out here originally as a geologist in 1981, and then the price of oil collapsed, and when I got laid off in '86, I mean, they sold the company, everybody got laid off. There were no jobs, and I lost not just my job, but my career. And, I remember how that felt, the feelings of fear and nerves and a sense of anxiety, and having to recognize as the weeks went by that there wasn't a job for me, and I had to figure something out. Right? Well, that's what the state's going to have to do, and what we are going to do, right? But we're going to do it together. And the one thing I learned when I was just talking to Terry, and can we give Hattie's a big hand for taking this? Terry and Terry. People tease me a lot for wanting to be in brew pubs or taverns, and yet they are great mixing places. In the early days of this state, not only were taverns voting places, but there were also theaters, there were centers of cultural affairs. So I like to think that there's that same mixing going on. Thank you, Terry. I appreciate it very much. We look at how, when I first opened the Wine Coop in 1988 in Lower Downtown, back when the rent was $1 a square foot per year. So we're clear on how bad the economy was back then, and people didn't think we could succeed. But we worked with the other restaurants down there to create a sense of place, and that's part of why they built Coors Field in Lower Downtown, right? We were all working together. After we built the business up, we opened brew pubs around in Fort Collins and Colorado Springs and around the country. And friends encouraged me to run for mayor of Denver, not just because I was a small business person. They wanted that common sense business logic brought to government. But they also wanted that sense of collaboration that we had done in Lower Downtown, and working with nonprofits and various community organizations to try and help everyone. And over the last 7 years, that's a lot of what our success has been in Denver. When we've cut chronic homelessness by 60%, we didn't build up, with a bigger bureaucracy. We did it through all the nonprofits and helping orchestrate and get them to work together more successfully. We looked at, how can we deal with water? And you haven't heard of this a lot, we haven't bragged about it, but over the last 5.5 years, by getting Denver Water to really work with all of our customers, and Denver Water supplies water to 1.3 million people in the metro area, half of Metro Denver, almost a quarter of the state. And over the last 5.5 years, we've cut the per capita consumption of water by almost 20%. Right? So think about that. It's the largest big city drop in consumption of any water utility in the country. And of course, it means when you're selling less water, the price per gallon goes up. And citizens call me about this, and I say, but wait a second. Maybe legally it's Denver's water, but on a bigger picture, it's all of Colorado's water, right? And isn't part of what makes Denver, Denver, the fact that we're in Colorado, the fact that a house in Denver costs 20% more per square foot than a house in Kansas City or Indianapolis? It's because we have this incredible and I've been so privileged to share in this and spend evenings and nights and days on the Eastern Plains and to see that we have a safe, secure source of food, right? But produce and pork and beef right on our Eastern Plains. And we have not just skiing and whitewater rafting, but traditional ranching and peaches and palisade on the West Slope. That we have this richness of life here that, you know, other states just dream about. And in Denver, what I tell people is, in the end, isn't it in Denver's best interest to make sure we keep every drop of water we can in the Colorado, every drop we can in the Arkansas, in the Fraser, in every river in the West? Now we are going to turn this state around. We're going to try and do what we've done in the city. As I said, the city of Denver, well, I just said, the city of Denver is, as over the last 7 years, slightly smaller than when we started. And because of baby boomers retiring, we didn't have to lay people off. But there's 7% fewer employees in Denver than there were when we started, right? That's the first time we think in the history of the city that's ever happened over that long a period. And yet, we have cut chronic homelessness, right? And we have a national model in sustainability. We've planted 200,000 trees. We've worked with the schools to turn around for the first time in 50 years. Denver Public Schools, their enrollment's going up, student achievements going up, dropouts gone down. All those things have come through collaboration and working together. And I think as we look at transferring that to the state, making it smaller, but with more ideas and innovation, and how can we, you know, make sure that we cut some of the red tape that's there and be a little more pro-business. One of the big challenges is going to be for all of us, and this is going to take everybody thinking about it and working on it, but we are at a point where every part of the state budget, and you talk to Gail Schwartz, you talk to Kerry Kennedy, who is the world's greatest treasurer. There's no better treasurer. You know, you talk to any of our elected representatives, there is no part of the state budget that has a hidden pot of money, right? Whether you care about education, 34% of our school districts in the state of Colorado are on 4-day work weeks, 4-day school weeks. If you care about transportation, they say that just to maintain the bridges and roads we have now would take an extra $500 million a year. You go to higher ed, we're 49th out of 50 years with higher ed. You can have the most talented lieutenant governor in the world, and we will, but without, you know, when you're 49th out of 50, and yet in the end, every part of the state budget is underfunded, and yet statewide there's no appetite anywhere for in this economy raising taxes. So if you believe those as facts, and I think they are, it means we have one choice. We have to figure out how to help our small businesses grow. How can they hire one more person, right? Pay that person a salary and generate more sales tax, more income tax, so that we can strengthen our safety net, so that we can make sure we provide better opportunity and better education for our kids. And how can we do that, strengthen our businesses, and at the same time make sure that we protect our land and waters, that we protect the quality of life that attracts everybody here, right? That's this big challenge that we all have to take responsibility for. How can we be pro-business, but at the same time hold ourselves to the highest environmental standards? Make sure that if we're pro-development, how can we make sure it's the right development in the right place, and that we're not letting it run over us, right? And that is a place that we can do better than any other state in the country. We'll balance that. You go to that water girl. Now, as I said, but before I go further, let me take a short commercial interlude from one of our ardent campaigners, my son Teddy Hickenlooper.
Hello, everybody.
Hi, Teddy.
We are going to swash Dan Mays.